We're going to have the most incredible conversation about stakeholder engagement, a topic that is so relevant for this sustainability agenda. If we want to get stuff done, and we do, then we've got to manage people around us. For everybody's benefit, just give us a brief introduction about who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
So my name is Daniel Blanchfiel. I'm the Group Sustainability Manager for FLI Global. We're an environmental solutions company focusing mainly on water treatment, site remediation and precast concrete. Not things you think about being the most sustainable, but they're things that we absolutely must have. So we do them as sustainable as possible. So that's how we can drive the sustainability agenda through that sector. On myself, I've been in sustainability for over a decade now at this point. So I was IKEA initially. I was one of their sustainability ambassadors in Dublin. That's worked in the Irish government for over 5 years on climate policy and awareness and engagement there. Moving on to being sustainability officer with ESW, an international e-commerce company, and then now to my current role in FLI Group.
For the benefit of everyone, what is a stakeholder?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. So everyone knows about stakeholders, or they think they do. But realistically, a stakeholder is anyone your product touches on from the broadest level. So a lot of people will think about my stakeholders are my company and my clients. Oftentimes they'll forget their suppliers. They're your stakeholders too. Further than that, your community around you, the community around where you work, where you live, where you sell into, your suppliers, communities. Essentially anyone your project will touch on from start to finish, from before you get the product or the materials for the product, right until the end of life of that product. Everyone is a stakeholder. That is very broad. So some projects, if they're much smaller, they might only have internal stakeholders, but it's key to note that it's not just who you think. Like, think broader, think big picture. You need to be holistic in sustainability. You can't just say, this is only going to impact that person, because it won't. It'll impact that person and those around them, and potentially those around the people around them. So it's an ever expanding set of concentric circles of impact.
We figure what a stakeholder is. How do we manage them? If you want to say it in the simplest possible way, what's the goal of managing them, and how do we go about it in an effective way?
Yeah. So your goal is to get your project across the line. So whether it's reducing your emissions or reducing your costs or delivering a project being built or whatever it is, your goal is stakeholder management has to be done to get to that endpoint. So you know what your endpoint is before you engage your stakeholders. It can be on the positive and the negative. It could be a project that's going to negatively impact people. So you need to manage the stakeholders to get them on board or to minimize the impact on them. Or it can be a positive that you're doing good things and reducing your emissions is a great example of that. Massive stakeholder engagement's needed there, but it's a positive end result.
So I think you and I have both encountered difficult characters, and we grow into love them along the journey, of course. But how do you deal with the people that just think you're being annoying or demanding things or having an unfair agenda when you're coming here with all of the things that you need done? How do we deal with those?
People fear change, and sustainability needs a huge amount of change. So the way I always work it is, number one, what do I need from these people? Number two, what can they give me easily? Number three, what can I give them back to help? So that's probably the three key points there. How can I help you? How can you help me? There's a bit of a trade-off. So while I need your input, I appreciate it's going to be extra work on you. So what can I do that's within my purview to help further down the line? So if you're doing this for me and I can do something for you in the future, or maybe not in the future, it could be right now that we're working on another project together, because sustainability is so broad. You're rarely talking to stakeholders on one topic. There's normally multiple similar topics happening. So if you can get a balance there, it can be very helpful to drive your main agenda. Oftentimes people don't realise that stuff that's in your scope of work and scope of influence as well is on their plate. So they mightn't realise that I'm taking work off you, but realistically it's work that I was going to do anyway. So it's a favour to them, but realistically it's in my job description. So that's a really important one that people don't realise. Sustainability isn't just environment, it touches on every aspect of a business, and it needs to be at the core of a business. So I challenge anyone to find something that doesn't touch on sustainability in a business. You won't be able to. It touches on absolutely every aspect. So whoever the stakeholder, from an internal point of view, there'll be some relation there that you can work with them. Whether it's as simple as improving the quality of life for the employees, nice events or lunches or charity events to get people to feel good about what they're doing and just be happier workers. That's one. If you're struggling to find something that can be the carrot to the stick of the engagement piece, if you can do something nice with your internal engagement team, that can be a boost. And then they can say, well, look, you helped with that. My staff are happier, more motivated, more efficient. We have a little bit of extra time. How can we help you? So it's a lot of moving pieces. You can't go into this thinking, this is my project, these are my stakeholders, this is how we'll do it. There's a lot of look at the 10 spinning plates and what can we do to balance them all in one go.
I work with a lot of people that are also reasonably new in sustainability and a lot of young people. And they will have to deal with senior leadership because, in my point of view, being a sustainability manager is actually a leadership role. How do we set ourselves up for success when we're dealing with really senior managers?
Yeah, so number one is be confident. I know it's easy to say that, but know your material inside out. These people are very busy, so you have to appreciate their time. They can be set in their ways, but if you are there as the expert, you need to stand your ground. And I've been right from the bottom all the way up. I've done it at every level, and thankfully I'm the top now, so I can say this is the way we're doing it. And you can get there with persistence and a lot of work and effort, but it can be challenging, especially early career. People are afraid of senior managers, and in my experience, being direct. So I've told CEOs in the past, like, that is incorrect. You're wrong. You're not able to say that. That can be damaging for the company, just out of misunderstanding of the sustainability topic. It's so broad and it's so different from your traditional business people who are set in their ways of, this is the way we've done it for 40 years. It's always worked. We're profitable. We've never been a better business. We want to be sustainable. It's like, great, now I'm the expert, so listen to me. Finding the balance between, I don't want to go in and I'm the cocky new kid, I know exactly what I'm doing. You have to appreciate these people are successful in business. They know what they're talking about. They don't know the nuances of sustainability. So I wouldn't go in straight away and say, no, you're wrong, stop. But if you're there long enough to understand the business and understand the problems, if you know that is a problem and senior manager is saying it's not, if it's in a small group or one-to-one, don't be afraid to say, maybe that's incorrect, or maybe we should look at it this way. If it's a larger meeting, I wouldn't stand up and say, you're wrong, stop that, just for yourself. But be confident that you know what you're talking about. And look, if they don't agree with you, don't take that as a personal hit. Like, there's a lot going on in the background that can stop the sustainability agenda happening. So don't get disheartened by it and stick to your guns with it. And if there's a reason behind why they're saying no, whether it's costs or resources, and time is the biggest issue with these sort of things. So what I found is, tell them why they're wrong and show them how you can fix it and show them why they should fix it. So if you're showing them this is the impacts on our business from a regulatory perspective, or reputation is a huge driver. So if you can show, if we don't do this, it will damage our reputation, that can be enough to get it over the line. But yeah, my biggest point would be confident, be right, don't be afraid to say you don't know. If someone directly asks you a question, don't lie about it. If you don't know, you can say, I believe it's this, but I will confirm and get back to you, and do it quickly. If it's senior manager, don't waste time, get straight back to them. But don't make things up, because if you're caught early in your career, especially if you're caught in a lie with things like this, it can be really harmful to how you progress. So be confident and be honest.
I remember you also said, it's okay if you don't know things.
Yeah.
Right? So then you go in and say, I don't know this, but I will find out.
Yeah, and there's no problem saying, look, I hadn't considered that. I'm looking at it through a sustainability lens, you're looking through a sales lens or a client management lens or whatever it is, and that's not my field of expertise, but I'll come back to you straight away, and just do it quick.
Yeah, do that quick and prioritize it. Yeah, exactly. I'll also say that I have another experience, which is a tool almost, which is called the communication funnel. And I'm actually dropping a separate video on the channel around this. And it's really simple. It's get to the point. So what do you need? And if they look at your auth, it's you drop the, as you're getting to as well, what's the consequence?
Yeah.
And then if they still look odd at you, then you give them more context. But keep the life story at home. You don't need to give a lot of context to senior management. But you will build trust in that way over time, and they will start knowing that you know what you talk about. Yeah,
building that relationship with senior management can be immeasurably helpful in your career. Once you've got the relationship built, it'll get to a point that they'll say, okay, you know what you're talking about, what should we do? Okay, do it. Costs, time dependent, obviously, but if you can say, this is something I can do by myself, give me my time to do it, obviously do it, work away. Yeah. So the approval process takes a step back, and suddenly you're managing up, which is a key piece for sustainability. Until you've reached the top, if you're brought in as the expert, there's still layers and layers and layers above you, but no one in those layers above you knows as much as you. So it's find that balance. You don't want to be cocky because, oh, I know everything because I'm the expert. That's absolutely not the way to be about it. And then the other side, the imposter syndrome, which we all still get. There's no problem with that to keep you on the straight and narrow, but be the expert, own the knowledge you know, and then whatever you can do within your own time without expanding too much to show and build the confidence with the senior leadership team that you know what you're talking about. You can get things done, you can get results. It goes a long way when you're getting to the larger projects.
I also really like when we were prepping before we were sat down, which we always do, and you talked about this behaviour of actually almost swinging by the office to build that relationship. Instead of it being so formal, you can have that informal relationship. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I've done throughout my career, which, to be honest, I started because I didn't know it wasn't normal, because I'm a very personable person. I'll stop by anyone's office and have a chat. And it was a couple of months into my first professional job where I was told, why are you knocking on that senior manager's door for a chat? And I went, oh, should I not? But it works very well. So if dealing with senior leadership, and especially at C-level, they're very, very busy. If you're trying to get an answer from an email or a Slack message or Teams, it can be incredibly difficult. Even if they tell you, send me that and I will respond straight away, 99 times out of 100 they won't respond, and they want to see it. It's not their fault, they're very busy. So what I found was really, really handy is just drop by their office. Just stick your head in and don't annoy them, but like if you see they're on the phone, maybe hang around out of eyesight. There's nothing worse than someone standing outside your door when you're on the phone. Hang back a little bit, find the right time, knock in and say, by the way, did you have a chance to look at that? Or I know you haven't had a chance to look at it yet. Would you mind looking at my email there? Or if it's a simple yes, no, I know you haven't seen the email yet. Here it is in 20 seconds. All I need is a yes, no. And then on the spot, a lot of times they'll say yes, no. And then you can say, okay, fine, can you please open that email and reply to it to say yes while I'm here with you? Because that's another thing, while they say yes in person, get important answers on paper.
Yeah, such a good point.
Yeah, because it's very easy to say yes and forget about it, especially when you're doorstopping people like that.
Yeah.
But that helps to build a relationship then, because they know you're persistent.
Yeah.
They know you're personable. So having that balance, and even if they say, oh, I'll come back to you by the end of the day, on your way out of the office, just swing by. I'd always make the effort to walk by. And then as the relationship builds, I'll take the longer route out of the office going home just to wave and say bye to these people, because they're such key stakeholders.
If you were to give me 6 rules for communicating with stakeholders effectively, what would they be?
Know what you need from them. Know what you can give them back. Be clear and concise. Cut the jargon. Why do they care? So why will they care about this project? It can be negative, it can be positive. That's an important point to see. Do they care about the end result? That changes how you interact. And if they do care about it, but they care more about the time pressures they're under or the monetary pressures of doing the project, that shifts how you do it. So why do they care is probably one of the most important ones. The other ones you can't do without it, but why do you care changes how you interact with these people. So if someone is passionate about the environment or passionate about the social side or the governance or whatever it is, but they are already working at 110% capacity, you have to tweak it. They can be a very vocal help, but they won't be able to do the legwork. So make yes easy. So do the legwork yourself. If you can come to the stakeholders and say, this is where we need to get, this is all the work I've done, all you need to do is say yes or no, and then I can proceed with what I've already planned. It's very easy to say yes, because time is the biggest constraint, and then money after that, I've found. So most times people say, yes, we fully agree with what you want to do there. How are we going to get the resources to do it? How can we progress this project? We don't have time to do it.
Yeah, all the time.
So if you can come to them and say, I've already done the groundwork, I've already done the legwork, I've done everything I can do, even if their team needs to do a huge amount of work. If you're coming to them and saying, God, it's going to be a huge project and I have to do, it's going to be months of work for me down the future, is very hard sell, because I'm going to be so busy, you're going to be so busy, but you're telling them, I'll be too busy to help your team. Whereas if you come to them and say, I've already done all my groundwork, I've set the scene, we know exactly where we're going, now we need your team, and I'll row in to help them. That can really change the focus of, here's extra workload, to, I'm going to join your team and help them on this project. Yeah,
it makes sense. It's bringing calm and overview to the table. There's this great expression which I like from a project leadership perspective, and that is, as a leader of a project, you are a lighthouse in a storm.
Yeah.
So the steadier you can stand and make people navigate from where you are, the safer people around you feel as well, and they won't drown in what's there. So be that?
Yeah, I always say to people, because I've had a few comments on how I don't get stressed by things. I get incredibly stressed by things, we all do, but be like a duck.
Yeah.
So calm and cool on the top and frantically flapping underneath. The way I always look at it, especially with stakeholders, when you're dealing with a huge amount of people, if you're stressed, they're stressed. So there's no point stressing the people around you. And even if they're not stressed, if they see you stressed, they'll become stressed because it's a natural response. If you say someone's stressed, you kind of tense up yourself and, oh, what will I do? So just be calm. Like, be stressed and don't bottle it up. It's not what I'm saying at all. You can be stressed, but do it in a manner that's conducive or conducive to good business practices. Like, there's no point being stressed in your meeting. Just stress before your meeting. Go have a coffee, go for a quick walk, let out some steam. In the meeting, calm, collected. There's no need for shouting and swearing and things in meetings. And if you're building up the tension, it's much harder to get teamwork.
Yeah.
And stakeholder management, whether you think that way or not, is teamwork. We're all a team. You mightn't be a formal team, but we're all working in the same, hopefully working in the same direction. Some will be pulling in the other direction, but eventually we all have to go to the same place. So it's a tug of war that we all end up in the one one spot.
Yeah, exactly. I always say there's an art form to entering a meeting room.
Yeah.
Be on time, be prepared, and take a seat somewhere in the middle and be collected, right?
Yeah.
The person that are 5 minutes late, falling over the doorstep and like papers everywhere and stuff and frantically, like, it doesn't endear trust.
Yeah.
And it's very basic, but it's a massive shift once you start behaving like that.
Book your meeting room 5-10 minutes early. Get in there, have the water set out, have the coffee set out. People walk in and it's calm and everything's ready to go. It, especially for the tense meetings, that little touch can make a big difference. And then for the tense meetings, try counter it before it happens. So especially with senior leadership, the C-level team, C-suite will have their own issues interpersonally, and you'll get to know that as you work with them, and recognizing that can be what really sets you apart in terms of your career. So I've had multiple occasions where I'm working with the C-suite on a sustainability project, and it needs input from two key players. The two key players butt heads because the nature of their jobs oppose each other. It's good for one and it's bad for the other. It's just the way it goes. So they're constantly bashing heads, and very quickly I realised I had to have meetings with the two of them, and we had a couple of meetings as the three of us, and I said, this is going nowhere. So I cancelled those meetings. I did one-to-ones, and this is where the doorstop came in very important, that I could just stick my head in and say, I know you're busy, give me answers to this. And the answer could be, oh, he'll say that, or he wants that. It's like, great, but what do you want? Okay, fine. And then you go to the other person and you have the same conversation and you do the back and forth, and then you get agreement offline. And it's much easier if those two people don't get on. It's easier to get an offline agreement, and then you can send an email to both of them as discussed. We are all in agreement to this. Please reply yes or no. Yeah. And then it's done. So you take the tension out of it, and the tension goes through the project. So if the most senior people on the team are fighting and tense, it travels through the line of their team. So if you can cut it at the top and have calmness and get the answer there, it saves an awful lot of time and gets progress just much, much quicker. And not only quicker, much smoother as well, because you can still get to the same point with stress, but then you've got all this pent up stress in the project. Whereas if the project is running smoothly and calmly, it just, even if the end result is exactly the same, it felt easier and buys you favour for future projects.
One of the points you mentioned that I really like were about talking with clarity.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate a bit on that? Because I know that we are in a field of acronym soup.
Yeah, so this can be very challenging, especially as a sustainability professional. We look at terms for years at this point. Even if you're new in your career in sustainability, if you've studied it, you're looking at terms for years and years and years. And we know them inside out. And then you talk to anyone else and they haven't got a clue what you're talking about. So it's massively important to cut the jargon, but at the same time, some of the terms are very important. So the likes of CSRD, we're all going to be hearing about that. The Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, we can't cut that jargon. That's important jargon. CO2, massively important, but there's CO2, there's emissions, there's greenhouse gas, there's blah, blah, blah. It's all back to emissions. So it's pick your battles in how you communicate. If there's something that's important, you feel is important to get the message across, explain what it is. This is the acronym we're going to use, because I'm not going to say Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive 100 times in this meeting. It's CSRD from now on. That's what that stands for. And what I found really good as well is build a booklet of jargon or a little reference sheet for people and put it on the cloud somewhere that people can access. And I always say in my meetings, even now when I'm doing meetings, like, put up your hand if you don't know we're saying we try and cut the jargon, but if you don't know, put up your hand, send it in the chat, or send it to me privately, or ring me afterwards and I'll explain it. And any question like that I get, I put it onto the jargon sheet. So then future questions I can say, look, it's all here. And for a jargon sheet, I don't just do your acronym, what it is, do acronym, the full name, and then a little explainer, because saying what CSRD stands for isn't enough. So giving that bit of background on this is what it is, and this is why it's important, and this is why I need to say this acronym over and over, it carries a lot of weight, and people appreciate you taking that extra little time to explain to them. If you're the expert and you just throw acronyms out, they think, oh, you lose the room. They're sitting there going, no idea what's going on. And it's no good for anyone. And if someone sits there ignoring you, it's just a waste of everyone's time. So be clear, be concise, and just be mindful that people haven't got a clue what you're talking about. And that's the way I approach it. Like, people just don't know whether they want it or not. A lot of people will want to be involved in sustainability and will want to understand it. It's a very complicated topic. So just treat them with respect. Assume they want to know. Don't treat them like babies. Is the flip side of that. You don't want to be too simplistic, but at the same time, just assume they don't know. Work from the assumption that this is the first time they've heard these terms, and go from there.
Yeah, even like I find the basic things of acknowledging there's so many things in the world I don't know.
Yeah.
So just tell me if I say something that's strange, then I'll happily explain, because you have knowledge I don't have as well.
Yeah, we've started most meetings with that now in the past couple of months of, I appreciate this is new to everyone here, so please stop me. I will lose the run of myself when you get into the topic that you're working on for years. You get passionate and you lose the run of yourself. But don't be afraid to stop and be personable. That's one thing that I can say. Like, people really appreciate knowing they can talk to you. It doesn't matter what level you're at, if you're at the bottom or you're at the top. If people understand, they can pick up the phone and ring you. And the more senior you get, on the flip side of what we discussed earlier, people will be afraid to ring you. So have that open door. Let them come in and ask you questions. And then, look, if you're really busy, be nice about it. Like, it doesn't cost you anything to be nice. So if you say, look, I am too busy, I have 100 things to do today, call back to me tomorrow because I'll forget to get back to you.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
I have this thing with acknowledging that everyone knows something you don't.
Yeah.
And that goes both ways. So you will know things that the counterpart doesn't know. And keeping that in mind really helps alleviate not even conflicts, but misunderstandings.
Especially with the more senior people you're dealing with, the managers and up. If you're talking some logistics, say to them, I don't know what you do, but I have to help it become more sustainable. So we need to work closely together, and your knowledge is invaluable to me. So make them feel appreciated, because you can't do your job without them. And you don't want to be going in saying, well, this must change and that must change. You have to go in with an open mind and think, I don't know all the complex things you've solved to get to where we are now, which is successful. I want to change it to be successful and sustainable, and you're an invaluable stakeholder in that.
Yeah. I see a lot of, obviously we have the Impact Accelerator, and on the inside, I feel for a lot of people that are like, oh, but the managers don't understand. I get a lot of no's and resistance, and I think this is the core of that problem. We need to build that mutual understanding, and we need to be willing to maybe expose ourselves sometimes in the conversation and be the first to be vulnerable, so that you allow other people to be vulnerable as well. Yeah,
absolutely. People really appreciate that, and it's back to the honesty piece we were talking about earlier. Like, you have to tell them you don't know, and people don't want to do that. So if you can get the ball rolling and say, whether it's in a meeting or if it's doorstepping or one-to-one or whatever it is, you can't do your job without them. So it's important to remember that, like, you're hitting roadblocks, but they're not doing it out of badness. So there's a reason for the roadblock. So what's that reason? Is it a lack of understanding? Is it a lack of knowledge? Is it a lack of want to change? But once you've identified what that roadblock is, you can work to alleviate it.
Daniel, this has been such an incredible conversation. I've definitely learned something.
Great.
And I hope it won't be the last time that I get to dive into your knowledge, because it's super helpful. If people want to connect with you, reach out, get to know more about what you do, and whatever, get to connect with you, where can they find you?
LinkedIn is the best place, and like, I've had messages from a good few people across the sustainability sphere, and I always say I'm always happy to talk about sustainability, whether it's career advice, because I've been whatever level you're at, I've been there, I've suffered through it. I know the pain and the good outcomes that happen as well. And I've dealt with a lot of different situations, so I'm happy to advise or just have a chat on sustainability. And yeah, LinkedIn's the best place. I think build your network. Yeah. So if anyone wants to reach out, I'm happy to have a chat there.
Amazing. I'll make sure to put the link to your LinkedIn in the comments below, so it's easy to find you. Fantastic.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. And
thanks for having me. It was great.
Have a great day in London.